Imagine waking up one day, realizing that the time you thought you had is slipping through your fingers like sand. Most of us believe we'll only ponder death when it's far in the future, yet the truth is, when it arrives, there's no negotiation, no warning, and certainly no postponement. So what if I told you that embracing the reality of mortality could illuminate the very essence of life and eternity? Today, we'll uncover a powerful truth that can transform your perspective. But first, if you find this message resonates with you, please subscribe and share your thoughts or the miracles Jesus has performed in your life in the comments below. Remember, Jesus is with you, and his blessings are always upon you. Let's dive in. Life, with all its complexities and unexpected turns, often gives us an illusion that we are in control. We plan, set goals, and chart our courses, believing with certainty that we hold the reins of our destinies. Yet this illusion is often shattered when reality serves us a different dish than what we ordered. This draws us to reflect on the scriptural wisdom found in James 4:14, which reminds us of the temporary nature of our existence. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Consider the countless hours and energy we invest in acquiring wealth and possessions, chasing after dreams that promise contentment. There is this pervasive chase for material possessions, driven by an innate desire for security and happiness. Psalm 39:6 succinctly captures this pursuit's futility, stating, "Surely everyone goes around like a mere phantom. In vain they rush about, heaping up wealth, without knowing whose it will finally be." The pursuit of material wealth is likened to vapors, just as transient and intangible, leaving us to ponder where we ought to direct our energies. Let's take a moment to imagine the exhaustion of reaching the pinnacle of wealth and realizing that the view isn't as fulfilling as one envisioned. How often have you found yourself staring at a purchase or achievement, thinking it would provide lasting happiness, only to feel a profound emptiness afterward? Or perhaps, when an unexpected event comes barging into your life, those material walls of security crumble, leaving you exposed to the elements. This is because, in truth, our souls yearn for something that transcends the temporal. They crave the eternal, the divine connection, which cannot be satisfied by mere earthly treasures. Imagine this. Each morning we wake up thinking we control every moment and action in our day, from our commute to work to our dinner plans. However, we overlook that life, much like a fragile vase, can shatter at a moment's unexpected touch. In holding tightly to the belief that we control our fate, we might inadvertently walk the tightrope of life blindfolded, oblivious to the chasms that lie beneath. Life's unpredictability isn't meant to paralyze us with fear, but to redirect our gaze toward what is truly enduring. The endless race to accumulate more, whether wealth, accolades, or possessions, is like chasing shadows that shift and disappear with the sun's movement. Our heart's true resting place is not in this race, but in something more profound and everlasting. This perspective encourages us to pause amidst our frantic striving, asking ourselves not just what we are pursuing, but why we pursue it. Where truly does our heart find its abode? In the material that summer breezes can scatter, or in the continuous, quiet presence of the divine? The Scripture calls upon us to seek treasures not of this world, but those of the heavenly kingdom. We are reminded that the things that truly matter, and those which impart lasting peace and fulfillment, are invisible to the eye and eternal by nature. It is within relationships, spiritual growth, acts of kindness and love that we find a repository of true wealth. It's about refocusing our attention from temporal achievements to eternal values. It's about reshaping how we perceive life, not as a ledger to be balanced with transactions, but as a journey to be embraced with faith and purpose. In this light, our material pursuits should serve as tools to foster good deeds and not as ends. In themselves, our actions echo beyond the grave, influencing the eternal fabric of our souls. Where we invest our hearts, there we sow the seeds of our eternal destiny. So, we are compelled to question, where is my heart truly anchored? Are we clinging to the sinking sands of earthly security, or anchoring ourselves to the eternal rock that withstands life's tumultuous seas? Each day offers a choice, a choice to advance on the path laden with temporary delights, or to embark on the journey towards inner peace and eternal fulfillment. As we ponder these questions, let us challenge ourselves to reevaluate where our efforts are directed. Consider reallocating your energies in ways that honor your spiritual truth, fostering community, promoting love, and embracing faith. As our days whisper their brevity, may we learn to rest our trust not in possessions of the world, but in the enduring promise of an eternal realm where our souls find true solace. Allow this moment of reflection to guide you into examining how best to pivot, shedding the weight of earthly burdens that distract from the meaningful connection our souls long for. Acknowledge the truth found in shedding the semblance of control, an exercise in humility that prepares us to embrace life more fully, cherishing each moment and living with the consciousness of eternity etched upon our hearts. As we delve further into these spiritual truths, let us keep open hearts and active minds, prepared to receive wisdom that transforms our lives for God's glory. As we venture through life, we often find ourselves entangled in the web of pride, unaware of the subtle, yet destructive path it paves for us. This old-age story takes us back to ancient times, drawing lessons from the biblical tale of King Belshazzar. His story serves as a cautionary tale, teaching us about the inherent danger of arrogance and false security. In his opulent palace, King Belshazzar believed himself invincible. Surrounded by grandeur and intoxicated by power, he was steeped in a sense of security that he thought was unassailable. Yet this false confidence led to his downfall, a stark reminder of the perilous nature of pride. Proverbs 16:18 soberly warns us, "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall." Belshazzar's fate was sealed, as he failed to recognize the vulnerability of his position, blinded by arrogance and an inflated sense of self-worth. The story highlights an important spiritual truth. Pride blinds us to our limitations and distances us from God. It whispers lies of self-sufficiency and worldly strength, leading us astray from the path of humility and dependence on the Creator. Belshazzar's reliance on earthly treasures and power proved futile when faced with divine judgment. His misjudgment reminds us of the importance of not placing our trust solely in worldly things that ultimately hold no eternal value. Scripture paints a vivid picture of how pride leads to ruin through the parable found in Luke 12:19-20. The story of a rich man who delighted in his abundance, planning to relax and indulge in his wealth, captures the essence of misplaced confidence. God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you." His sudden end exposed the folly of relying on material prosperity as a safeguard against existential uncertainty. Like Belshazzar, this man's focus on temporal gains left him unprepared. For the moment, his soul was required of him. The illusion of control we discussed earlier, and now the danger of pride, emphasizes a fundamental spiritual principle. Our lives are fragile and transient. The relentless pursuit of power, success, and recognition cloud our judgment and tether us to a false sense of control, shrouding the deeper, eternal reality with which we must contend. When pride clouds our vision, we forget the inevitability of life's brevity, ignoring divine counsel in exchange for self-exaltation. In moving through life with humility, we recognize not just our limitations, but more importantly, the boundless strength and wisdom offered through a relationship with God. Humility invites us to acknowledge our dependence on divine providence rather than worldly assurance. Proverbs 3:34 illustrates this truth. He mocks proud mockers, but shows favor to the humble and oppressed. God welcomes those who approach him with humility and sincerity, aligning our hearts with his divine will and opening up a path to true, everlasting security. The dangers of pride are not confined to monarchs of the past, but resonate within the everyday lives we lead. It is an insidious force that seeps into the fabric of our interactions, influences, and decisions. When left unchecked, it erodes our character, distorts our priorities, and cultivates a false sense of security that ultimately comes crashing down. As you reflect on these warnings, consider how pride might be manifesting in your own life. Are you seeking validation in ephemeral successes or material riches? Is your sense of self-worth dependent on worldly accolades, or the unwavering truth of a divine relationship. A spirit grounded in humility aligns us with God's truth, freeing us from false securities and guiding us toward genuine peace and fulfillment. In stark contrast to the trials of misplaced pride, humility liberates us from the shackles of worldly dependence, reorienting our trust towards the eternal realm. With open hearts and humble spirits, we recognize our place in God's creation, cherished and loved beyond measure, invited to partake in divine wisdom that transcends earthly understanding. As we journey towards this truth, let us remain vigilant against the dangers of pride, embracing a humble path that leads to lasting transformation and spiritual clarity. The story of Belshazzar's banquet is a poignant reminder of how easily humans can drift into irreverence when they lose sight of the sacred. This banquet wasn't just a gathering, it was a deliberate display of defiance against the divine. In a hall filled with opulence and the scent of indulgence, a moment intended to showcase human triumph quickly turned into a testament of divine intervention. As Belshazzar and his nobles reveled, they committed an act that transcended mere cultural norms. They desecrated objects that were never meant for human frivolity. They used sacred vessels from the temple in Jerusalem for their drinking games. In doing so, Belshazzar epitomized more than just royal arrogance. He enacted sheer disregard for the divine. His actions mirrored an age-old lesson. Whatever is consecrated to God should remain beyond the grasp of human hubris. Galatians 6:7 echoes this timeless truth. Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Belshazzar's choices sowed seeds of his own downfall, a clear illustration that defying the sacred brings about inevitable consequences. In a world where the line between the sacred and mundane often blurs, Belshazzar's story prompts you to ponder what it truly means to reverence what is holy. Exodus 27 outlines detailed instructions for the sacred things of the temple, emphasizing that the items consecrated to God held significant importance. They weren't just objects, but embodiments of a covenant between the divine and humanity. Each was to be treated with profound respect, serving as physical manifestations of a spiritual truth. As Belshazzar's story unfolds, a mysterious hand appears etching enigmatic words onto the wall, a divine announcement of judgment. The room, once filled with laughter, is silenced by the supernatural message, a clear indication of God's presence and his authoritative intervention. This divine handwriting was a moment of profound clarity, reverberating through the amygdalas and neocortex of every spectator, an unspoken understanding that human actions have consequences and none are exempt from divine scrutiny. God's intervention, via the prophetic writing on the wall, serves as a powerful metaphor for his sovereign nature. The proclamation was not intelligible to the intoxicated eyes of Belshazzar and his attendees, a sobering reminder that human wisdom is often ineffectual. In the face of divine authority, when the wise men of Babylon failed to interpret the message, the responsibility fell upon Daniel, a man of divine insight and spiritual wisdom. Daniel's interpretation revealed God's ultimate sovereignty. As noted in 1 Corinthians 1:19, "For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, the intelligence of the intelligent I will frustrate." Daniel's understanding transcended human comprehension, a testimony to the fact that true wisdom and insight come from above. He discerned what others could not, illuminating the path to understanding for those willing to heed the message. The writing on the wall carried a simple yet profound lesson. Humanity is constantly being weighed in the balance. In a moment where earthly indulgence seemed to reign supreme, God reminded Belshazzar of his ultimate authority and the folly of treating reverence as trivial. Each of us, at some point, stands before the metaphorical handwriting that examines the authenticity of our reverence. Are our lives led with genuine respect for what is sacred, or have we, like Belshazzar, become desensitized to the divine truths that call us to a higher standard? Reflecting on this story, it's clear that divine judgment is not an antiquated concept, but a present reality. It calls you to examine how sacred things are treated in your own life, to consider whether the symbols of your faith are revered or have become just another aspect of routine. This reflection isn't meant to instill fear, but to inspire a deeper commitment to live in awareness of divine things, with a heart aligned to the sacred whispers of the soul. In the nuances of everyday life, where divine and mundane coexist, Belshazzar's experience challenges you to recognize sacred moments and objects, to grant them the reverence they deserve. It's not about perfection, but intention, an earnest desire to honor the holiness ingrained in the fabric of creation. In doing so, you start to resonate with a rhythm of reverence, aligning your life with divine purposes, and remain attuned to the profound and subtle interventions that shape each spiritual journey. Such was the potent message delivered at Belshazzar's feast, a lesson teeming with the raw power of divine judgment and the enduring call to hold what is sacred in undiluted esteem. Amidst a reality that often values immediacy over eternity, this story stands as an invitation to redefine how holiness is perceived and lived out in everyday affairs and interactions, offering a pathway to authentic spiritual transformation and understanding. As life's journey approaches that final chapter, where the unknown awaits beyond the veil, it's in those fleeting moments that the call to eternity becomes undeniable. This isn't an echo of despair, but a profound awakening of the spirit, a beckoning to something greater than the tangible realm we so often cling to. The urgency and solemnity of preparing one's soul for what lies beyond is a universal truth, woven intricately into the fabric of our existence. In the words of Hebrews 9:27, "And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment," we're reminded of life's impermanence and the certainty of an afterlife evaluation. For many, the contemplation of eternity reveals a dichotomy between the ephemeral pleasures of the present and the enduring values that stand the test of eternity. This juxtaposition isn't just philosophical, it's a spiritual conundrum that each soul must navigate. Ecclesiastes 3:11 echoes this sentiment beautifully. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. This passage not only acknowledges the beauty and transience of earthly life, but also speaks to the deep-seated, intrinsic understanding of eternity within us, a divine imprint, calling us to look beyond the horizon of our finite days. In addressing this call, the teachings of Jesus Christ illuminate a path toward eternal fulfillment, urging us to prioritize our spiritual pursuits over worldly desires. Matthew 6:33 instructs us to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. This pursuit isn't about material gain or superficial satisfaction. It's about aligning our lives with divine principles, allowing God's eternal promises to guide our actions and decisions. However, the journey to answer this call isn't walked alone. It is embodied in the sacrificial love of Jesus Christ, a love that extends beyond human comprehension and reaches into the core of our being. Romans 5:8 captures the essence of this unfathomable love. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. This unmerited grace offers a transformative power, urging us to embrace it without hesitation. The path to eternity is made clear through Jesus, who confidently proclaims in John 14:6, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Facing the inevitable reality of death, the soul is invited to reflect deeply on its eternal destination. This reflection isn't meant to invoke fear of the unknown, but rather to kindle a desire for lasting peace and fulfillment. In this sacred pause before the transition from this life to the next, there exists a precious opportunity, a chance to change course, to make amends, to realign with what truly matters. The call to eternity is personal and profound. It's an invitation to look beyond the shadows of our temporary existence and find solace in the assurance of a life beyond. As you stand at the crossroad, ponder deeply what lies ahead. Consider the state of your soul, and let this be the day that you choose life, eternal life, marked by surrender and faith. So, what will your decision be? The sands of time slip away quickly, but the choice to embrace eternity remains ever present. As you ponder these questions, grasp hold of the opportunity to seek and cherish what carries true, everlasting significance. It's not too late to turn towards eternal truths. In this moment of clarity, let your heart echo the urgency of the call to eternity. Embrace it with open arms and prepare your soul for the wondrous journey that awaits beyond.